Welcome to the Soul Wisdom Project, the living blueprint of the soul. With me, Shakti Bottazzi, your host. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by your daily life as if something inside you is trying to get your attention? As an international teacher, shaman, and energy healer, I will bring the tools of a lifetime to guide you to explore how to live consciously, awaken your innate wisdom, integrating the design, development, and emergence of your divine blueprint. Each episode blends grounded conversation with multidimensional insight, guiding you to release old patterns, align with your higher intelligence, and live awake, aware, and fully present. The Soul Wisdom Project with me, Shakti Bottazzi, starts now. Welcome once again. It's wonderful to be here live on this day. I don't know about you, but I'm coming to you from Oregon, and it's cold but sunny, which is very welcome in this winter day. And I am welcoming you today for this episode about embracing the mess, navigating spirituality in everyday life. As always, if this conversation resonates with you, you can find my work, writings, ways to explore these themes more deeply on my website at www.theawakenpath.com. Let's dive right in. And this topic is very near and dear to my heart because it's a real thing. It's about embracing the mess that we are. No matter in what journey we are, spiritual or very 3D, life is always on session. I love this phrase that a coach I had like 10 years ago used to say all the time. And it is so true, isn't it? So, when life is on session, no matter where you're headed, what you're trying to do, and no matter how high is the goal, the scope of what you're trying to do, it gets messy. And it's really interesting how, when you're on a real spiritual path, you still need to live very much what's happening in your daily life. And this is a key point we'll explore a little bit more in a moment. Because the emotional reality that we're confronted with, the news, with what happens to our loved ones, with our sons or daughters, teenagers, little kids, newborns, older parents, husbands, beloveds, whatever, right? That's always happening. And trauma lives right there. So, whatever we've had in our lives growing up, whatever has left us a little bit extra sensitive and in certain aspects of our lives will keep showing up for us to confront it head on, deal with it, and be free from it. But meanwhile, it gets messy. And one thing that I did for many years as a technique that helped me a little bit, but in the end it didn't do the job, is this thing about bypassing the problems. It's called spiritual bypass. So avoiding the 3D world and the environment world leads to that, to spiritual bypassing. It's an escape that can look like blissfulness, but it reality will come and eventually hit you smack on your face. So the bypassing, it's probably a temporary solution if you need to stop the bleeding and take a breath. And seemingly you are all bliss. But the truth is that the way to be spiritual in a world like the one we're confronting today is very different than being in a blissful state all the time. It's truly about embracing all of that mess, is about meeting what's in front of us in this three-dimensional reality, which is full and filled with contrasts, and understanding that to embrace all of that is actually the door that opens deeper healing, deeper meaning, fulfillment, and bliss, which is where we're heading, what we're looking for. Buddha, Master Buddha, more than 2,500 years ago, used to say that desires lead to enlightenment. Actually, he used to say our desires are what will lead us to our enlightenment, because he explained that our earthly desires for even more flashy things, for a better car, for a nicer vacation, for more whatever, or for success in a career, in a job, or having a family filled with kids, is that is your desire, is what puts you in a path of figuring out this game called life so that you can achieve that which you're desiring. And in so doing, you confront this mess and go step by step into that healing and eventually, like Buddha said, into enlightenment, which is the ultimate, right? The ultimate. We don't say this all the time. We don't go about saying, oh, I want to be enlightened. People would think we're cuckoo. But the truth is that the ultimate goal of life is to experience God within, or become one with source and creator and the universe, and have that thing that is called the self-realization of God. This is it, really. When we achieve that state of being is when everything else disappears, because we've cracked the code, and we figured out the illusion all the way through. Meanwhile, in this beautiful game called life, the illusion shows up for us with our issues about money, for example, because in the modern world, what used to be a mammoth or a lion running after you and trying to catch you is money. In today's day and age, it's money the issue. Work, trouble at work, trouble with the people I work with my boss, with the actual work per se. I don't like it anymore. It doesn't fulfill me anymore. My life feels flat. I feel like I'm in a treadmill that is never ending, like a hamster wheel. And what's the point? Just to get to the end of the month and get a stipend and then start all over again. And where is this leading me? Nowhere, because it's all the same, and I can't fathom seeing myself in the same position in 5 years, in 10 years, in 1 year, whatever it is. Those are the messy aspects of this. In relationships, we love somebody, we love our friends, and when we least expect it, whatever is happening in our friend's life, for example, appears in ours like something that feels like a rejection, like an abandonment, like something that for some reason touches our trauma and hits us in the wrong place and makes us feel uncomfortable, in pain, constricted, not worthy of the love of our friends, or whatever that is. And potentially, and 99% of the times, remember this, it has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with whatever is happening in your friend's life. This happens with our beloveds. Same thing. They might have had a bad day at work, they get home, and poof, things are not okay, and you have no idea what happened. Except that when you are in a close, tight-knit relationship like you would be with a beloved, it probably, if you have fairly, if you've honed down your communication skills, you probably can get to the bottom of the issue with a lot more speediness and ease. And sometimes with a friend or a coworker or a relationship that's not that intimate, it's a little bit more edgy, because we don't want to create more of that uncomfortableness, and yet we want to address it. So that's that. Then the other things in which this shows up is in health. health, our bodies. We spoke about this. We spoke a lot about this in episode one. If you haven't watched it or listened to it in any podcast platform or in the TTN network or on my website or in YouTube, you can find it everywhere. Just go look for Soul Wisdom Project and make sure you watch, you listen. Embodiment. When our soul is living fully within our bodies, we activate a deeper relationship with our bodies by which, when we go out of alignment, our bodies speak to us with lack of ease, dis-ease. And when that happens, life gets messy. And again, we'll talk about how we can confront these things, different ways of doing it. Messiness could be about home. We may be feeling a little bit out of whack, a little bit um, lost in our path of what we're meant to do, what we're here for, and our home, our room, our home, depending upon how big is the space in which we live, can become really crowded. Some people go into hoarding mode when this uncertainty pops up in their lives. Some people go into complete explosion mode. And everything is lying everywhere on the furniture, on the floor, on the ground, on the everywhere, in the hamper, hanging out, wherever. And when we have an an area where we live, our home, or even just one room in our home where we spend time that is messy, crowded, cluttered, it gets messy inside. That's just the outside, is just a reflection of the inside, and it's like a retro feedback loop that because it's that way outside, it keeps us stuck into what we want to do. And because we are in this way inside, we can't quite figure out how to fix the situation. So we'll address that. Time. How about when there is never time to do what we love to do, and when we are overwhelmed or overpassed by tasks that are duty filled, they're musts, they're shoulds, and there's apparently never time to do what you actually love to do, or even just lay back and do nothing, because sometimes that is needed too, to stop the hamster wheel and get off, stop the train and get want to get down, which ties into where we have lack of time, we have too many responsibilities, and the systems that exist in our lives aren't working. Can you relate to this? I would love to hear from you. If you are watching live, to send me a message. If you are watching later on, just leave me a message. Um, Share with me. I really would like to know how this is happening in your life. And remember that whatever is happening in your life is happening for you. And also remember that if you are listening to this podcast or you are watching this podcast today, it's not a coincidence, because as life is happening for you, clearly you needed to hear this. And potentially there's a little golden nugget hidden in today's conversation that will help you embrace the mess, like I was saying. But in embracing the mess, there's the navigating and figuring it out so that we can truly get to that bliss regardless of what's happening in our lives. And herein lies the key point. So I'm going to repeat it. It's about embracing the mess and navigating it in a way that, regardless of what's happening in our lives, we do feel the bliss. We do connect with the joy inside. We can understand that life is being shown to us one step at a time, And that when we can get to that space of knowing what is that next best step that we need to do, we can begin unraveling whatever it is that it's in front of us. And I want to share with you that bypassing what I was speaking about a little bit earlier doesn't look like bad spirituality. It looks like you're coping. And believe me, I did it a lot, and I didn't know I was doing it. It probably was when I was 40, in my 40s, and so much was happening in my life. I was at 42, I am about to be 62, just so that you have a frame of reference. At 42, I was separating, divorcing from the father of my children. They were tiny. I mean, my youngest was 5 and the eldest was 8. We were living in Italy. My family is not from Italy. My mom is in Argentina, even though she was born in Italy, but she's 100 years plus. My siblings live far away. And basically, we were living in Tuscany, and I was alone. Like, I didn't have family to support me. I was the sole breadwinner, and here I was with two tiny kids. Well, they weren't tiny, but they were little. They depended big time on me. And I was separating in a very messy separation. And I really needed time to have a moment for myself. And meditation was that thing. I started meditating a lot, and I would get up really early in the morning, sometimes at 4 in the morning, so I could have 2, 3 hours of meditation, which was compounded. It was silent meditation, it was chanting meditation, it was yoga poses, it was many, many different things. And it helped me for a while. And it helped me confront day by day. However, that wasn't helping me address the issues that were in front of my life. And then I would go to courses to learn energy healing and to learn cellular memory release and to learn a lot of amazing things. And I didn't realize that I was bypassing, I was staying in what's known as the upper energy centers, the heart, the throat, the third eye, the crown, which was amazing. And I was completely disconnected from my body, my feeling, who I was in the world, my ability of saying yes when I meant yes, no when I meant no, of being grounded in the here and now. It was really interesting. So, for example, I want to give you a few hints on how you can recognize if this is something that's happening for you, this common bypass patterns, so that you can understand this like, whoops, I'm doing that too much. It's okay to do it here and there on a weekend. You need time out and fine. But if this is all the time, so for example, this is one typical one is staying high vibe while avoiding hard conversations. So with the excuse that, no, I don't want to be brought down by your bad vibe or by lower frequency or your bad mood or whatever, you fakely stay in this high vibe, avoiding looking at what really needs to be handled. So you avoid to look at the finances that are not working, or the job that's not working, or the relationship, like in my explanation, in my share. And so one typical one is using meditation or ritual to avoid action. So I was doing 3 hours of meditation in the morning, but the truth is that I was frozen in place. I was paralyzed. I didn't know which way to go. I didn't know if I had the courage to say I want a divorce because I was so scared about how I would handle that situation if I went that route. But at the same time, I couldn't stand being in the situation I was. Life was so painful. And there was a lot of anger and My ex was really aggressive and very manipulative emotionally, and I fell for it over and over. So that's exactly what I did. Used meditation, ritual, all this beautiful time. Oh, wonderful. But it took me more than a year to actually take action when that's what was really going to move the wheel and change the situation and begin to bring solutions. Another thing is to over identify with a spiritual identity. And again, you are identifying with this beautiful spiritual person, and in the spiritual realm with your spiritual friends, you're amazing. But then you're unable to take that into your home, into your friends, into your abundance, into your body. So you are giving it all to your spiritual life, but you're neglecting the body, the home, the money, the relationships. And that's because that's where the mess is. Or, for example, there's a lot of skits and sketches about this, is about using spiritual language to anesthetize emotion. And so we use all these paraphrasing words about I really feel you. I can see how this is affecting you. And you keep going with phrases like that instead of saying, hey, I'm sorry, I hurt you. I shouldn't have done that. You're right. And I did wrong, or whatever it is that happened. And all of these things are part of us humans. So bypassing spiritually is none other than one more coping mechanism for survival. That's why I'm going to give you some solutions, but before going there, I want to make sure that if any of the things I was sharing touch you, or you feel that they are true in your life or present in your life, that first of all, you give yourself compassion, that you give yourself love and understanding, just like you would to a friend, just like you would to a loving person, because if any of these things are happening, are because there is pain that may be too big for you to confront in this very now moment. And I hope this conversation today gives you courage and gives you an impetus for you to lean into that discomfort so that you can move through it and out of it and begin being able to take a little bit of action instead of bypassing whatever needs to be addressed. Because, like I was saying, it is on this dimension, which is the earth dimension, this real three-dimensional life where the daily friction shows up for us. And also, the beauty is that it's the exact place where we can have healing and integration and growth. And that's why we're here, because we signed on the dotted line to come down into this family, this community, this country, this body, and all the relationships and all of it that's in your life. You chose, you co-created. And so to identify with clarity what may be happening for you, I want to offer you one question to ask that is free of emotional connotations or um, cues that will derail the truth and neutrality of your answer. So here's what you can ask yourself. In my daily life right now, what is the biggest challenge in front of me? And my invitation is for you to keep this simple. The answer is simple. And if there's 10 things that are coming at you, and sometimes there are, and it's like in that when I was 42, like I was saying, it took me years to clean my mess, by the way. And the mess was all over the place. It was relationships. I was getting very sick. It was about abundance. It was it was all over the place. And so do not choose all 10, okay? Choose the one challenge. If you can't figure out which is the biggest one, just write them all down, but then ask again and figure out what is the next best step for you to take. For example, I'm going to give you a few examples of great entry points so that you can begin pulling the thread from there. These are not problems to fix, okay? We're talking about really looking at our lives with love, with compassion, and with the connection inside of your gut of what is your deepest desire. Because the other thing that happens when we are in this messy part of our lives, and by the way, always, but particularly messy, whatever it is that you want to confront and deal with, is that we feel or think that we are wrong in any ways, that we have some guilt, we have some shame around it. We don't tell people. That's the other thing that we isolate ourselves because we're ashamed to share what is going on for us. And these things imply for us inside that we must fix ourselves, fix the situation. And it's not about fixing, and it's not about being wrong, and it's not about being inadequate, and it is about embracing. It's about saying, okay, here I am. This is this now moment. All of this is in front of me. Somehow, with some low level of awareness and consciousness, I co-created this moment of my life. I made choices and I took actions where, for example, in my case, I chose to override a lot of red flags. Trust me on this one. Probably that happened to you too. We tend to override the red flags. Don't see this. Keep going. Everything is wonderful. Red flag. Keep going. Everything is wonderful until the mess is so big we cannot keep avoiding it. So then we resort to spiritual bypass, and when that isn't even enough, then this is where I want to tell you how it may be showing up in your life. For example, you may have a lot of clutter and disorganization in your physical environment. It could be just your office, your desk, it could be your home, it could be your paperwork, it could be the intangible aspects of how you're set up financially. Do you have a will? You don't have a will, you're not looking at that thing, your digital space, whatever it is that's clutter in your life. When there is clutter, especially in your physical environment where you are, if you go to sleep in a room that is super in disorder, your sleep is not going to be deeply restful because clothes, things have energy. And even in a closet where you may like pile everything inside and close the door of that closet and say, good, the room is super tidy, all that disorganization inside the closet is going to influence you because the energy is felt through the door of the closet. And you actually know in the back of your mind that there's a mess over there that you just piled in there, physically trying to do what you were doing emotionally, which was, or in your mind, which was, I'm not going to look at it and believe it's not there. But your subconscious and your whole being actually knows it's there. This is a great entry point to clean, declutter, reorganize, get rid of stuff. It is so rewarding and it will help you shift energetically so much that you will be relieved and you will feel so much lighter to then take the next step. And I know what you may be saying. You may be saying, but I don't know where to start. My house is a mess, or my office is a mess, or my clothes are a mess, or whatever it is. My car, my gosh, people, cars. So many people. put all the trash in the cars, right? If you have kids and the kids dump all kinds of stuff on the floor, cars, clean the car, clean the inside of the car, throw the trash away. It's incredible. So if you say, I don't know where to start, just like I said, one step at a time, start with one thing. What is it best? Your desk? What is it best? You have too many books, too many books? Okay, grab them all, choose the ones that really are dear to your heart, put all the others in a box, go donate to the library. You have clothes, clothes. There's so many, you don't know even where to put them. They're coming out of the closet. Dump them all on your bed. That's not mine, by the way. That's Marie Marie Kondo. She's amazing. She has this system called the KonMari method. You can look at her book. I used her method so many times in my life, changing my life, Marie Kondo. And then pick what still gives you joy. Remember, the question is, does this still give me joy? And if it doesn't, send it to a thrift store, Goodwill, or trash if it's not reusable, and keep only those things that are still giving you that spark of joy that you know that you may reuse because that joy is in there. And again, decluttering closets. The kitchen. Oh my goodness, the kitchen is another one of those places where keep all kinds of old containers without lids, lids that have broken, burnt, twisted. Dump all of that away. Today you can buy containers for the kitchen for like $2, $3. It's like insane how available all these things have become. So old kitchen stuff that is disgusting and sticky, throw that away. You get the point. Okay. So I'm going to move on to another one. But the thing is that clutter, the reason why I'm making such a point about clutter is because it is very common, very common. So if this is you, again, don't say, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Just go, okay, that's a great idea. Let's take one action. One action will begin to shift things for you. Another one that's huge is money patterns that repeat despite awareness. And I think probably, I don't know, 90% of society is in there. And for sure, I've been there for years and years and years. You make you make goals. It doesn't matter if you, and by the way, it doesn't matter in what financial range you are unless you're destitute and homeless, of course, or really pure poor. But no matter where you are, this is a reality. You make 10, you spend 11. You make 100, you spend 101. This is a cycle. It happens to everybody. And part of that is a lack of boundaries with ourselves. We make a decision, I'm going to put this much apart, and then you don't hold it. You do it a few months and then you don't do it. The other thing with money is that money loves order. So if you are not tracking your money, you're not tracking your expenses, you're not tracking your income and your expenses, and you're not keeping it tidy, and you don't know really what's happening month in, month out, and you have a bunch of receipts in a drawer, and you're going to deal with that later, etc., etc. A, money won't flow with ease because money likes order. And the other thing that could be in there is that, and watch, ask yourself if this is the case for you. There's a deep trauma of discomfort with receiving or charging for your services if you are self-employed. What happens here is that we are, for the most part, when we have trauma, and a lot of us on earth have the trauma of not feeling good enough and not feeling that we are worthy enough. And again, tune in. Is this you? Is this you even tiny bit? Because there's layers of this, and you may have done a lot of work, and at the very tiny bottom, there's still one layer of doubt that is influencing your life. And so you are used to give a lot because giving is rewarding. Don't we all love to give when we give a gift? Don't we enjoy giving? Sometimes it's almost more fun to give the gift and watch the other person enjoying the gift, particularly if you give with love and you know that you're giving gifts the other person loves. There's a lot of people that don't like and don't know how to give gifts because other people are the other way. Me. They don't want to give, but both sides are creating a blockage in the flow of coming and going of money. Money has a breath, it comes and it goes. And it's just like when you inhale, if I hold it and hold it and hold it, and now I have to exhale. You cannot keep a breath. You're going to die, right? And the same is meant with money. Of course, you will put money apart for emergencies, for savings, for vacations, for things. Of course, you know all those things. This is not a financial conversation. This is about the messiness in life and what does that mean for our spiritual life. So, from a spiritual standpoint, when we have a difficulty in giving or a difficulty in receiving, that will probably show up also in our money affairs. And our money affairs may show with scarcity, may show with mostly with scarcity, with the lack of flow of the money we need. And again, it doesn't matter how big is the amount of money that we have, it's still an issue for us. I want to check in with you. One moment. How are you doing? Are you all right? Because this conversation is intense. I know that when I say these things may resonate with some of you more than with others, and there's like an uncomfortableness about it because it's a resonation. It's resonating. I just invented that word. It's resonating energetically with what is happening for you. So hang in there because in one moment, very shortly, I'm going to tell you how to open up more in your lives so that you can be more into your spiritual awakening, rejoice in it, and be fully embracing the mess. And I'm giving you some tips as I go already, as you can tell. So the next one is the avoidance of concrete actions. I kind of touched on this several times because it permeates all the issues, but especially when we're looking at practical things. Should you remove all the subscriptions or which subscriptions you should remove? Should you make phone calls, all types from work to get a new insurance, to get a medical appointment, whatever that is, you're postponing calls. I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. Paperwork. Do I need to file things, organize things, whatever it is? Systems, decisions, conversations that keep life on hold. Avoidance of concrete actions, avoidance of grabbing the bull by the horns. Start working out, start going for a walk, start eating differently, start telling your loved ones that you love them. Start doing that project that you so wanted to do your whole life. You want to do this. Yes, I'll do it later. Do it now. Life is now. And if you make mistakes, no big deal. You course correct and you do it. And then you make another mistake or you fall flat on your face. So you get up and you try again and you live life because life is now. And the last aspect of all of this that I've mentioned also here and there is how when this messiness happens, what's happening really is that our self-worth and our belief that we are meant to be loved is tested in all real world interactions. I betcha that you either feel invisible or have felt invisible sometime. You have felt not worthy enough or whatever. you have felt people are not respecting you or are not taking you seriously or somehow overworked or somehow taken for granted, somehow, somewhere, sometime in your life, any of these things will have shown up for you or are there now in some degree because as humans, holding boundaries is not as easy because of our trauma and because it plays on the two key core pain points of humans, which is the ability to feel that they deserve to be loved and the ability that they feel they're worthy just because they're alive. And all the other things we're talking about today have to do with how that plays out in life. Take a breath. I'm going to bring you some solutions very soon. And take a sip of water or tea or cacao or coffee or whatever it is. Actually, I'm going to take one too to create a moment to breathe and have everything that I've just said land with ease. Because, like I said earlier, nothing about this is making you wrong. And I know that many of you may be feeling maybe shame or guilt or I should have, woulda, whatever. Drop all of that, not serving you. And by the way, go onto my website, the Awaken Path, Awaken, Awaken path.com, because there's a couple of meditations you can download for free there. There's one in particular called the Rainbow Meditation. Go under the Gifts tab and download it because that meditation is perfect to help you get on every day into alignment so that you can start your day and begin taking these next steps. So remember to go there, theawakenpath.com under gifts. There's many gifts there, but the rainbow meditation is probably the one you will want for this topic. Again, remember, you are here. It's the Earth School. You chose your family, you chose the culture you're on, all of that has created part of who you are. Yes, you've lived through the conditioning of your parents as you were growing up, and it's just normal that any and all and many of all the things I mentioned are part of your life, particularly in this moment. Because what I haven't mentioned, and I just want to like drop it for a moment as part of the context, is that beyond all the things that I've addressed, we have to do with your area of control. And that's why I've addressed those things, because those things you can do something about it. There's all the other stuff that happens in the world, that it's outside the area in which we can do something about it, like what's happening in politics, the wars going on, whatever is happening with people in power, all the things that are happening in companies, corporations you may be working in, but they're out of your control. You can't do nothing about that. You can choose how to react to that, but you cannot do something like declutter your closet. But all of that is also happening. So here's the thing. You want to ask yourself questions. So, sorry, let me preface this. In order to embrace the mess and in order to really find solutions and understand what is that next best step for you, because you may have many of the things I mentioned and you're like, again, where do I start? Well, here's what I'm giving you so you know where you can start. You can start without judgment. You can start asking yourself questions that don't load judgment into the questions you ask yourself. You ask questions that create space for truth to surface. So you make sure, you, like sometime after you've listened to this call or podcast or you watched it in the replay, you create some time, you light a candle, you create some ritual space that is silent, beautiful, just for you. And if you have a messy desk, just move the paperwork aside and put a little bit, two crystals there, a candle, grab your journal, and do this for a moment so that you gain clarity. You take a moment for yourself and you go in, like I was saying, without judgment, creating that space for truth to surface, and you inquire on a very earthly, dimensional way. You say, for example, what do I know about this now? This could be my clutter. This could be my money problems. It could be my relationship issues. It could be the work I'm unhappy with. Whatever that is, you set up what is it you're wanting to clear and understand what is your next best step. So you also want to know what would be different if this, whatever this is, was resolved. It's important to have that outcome clear for you. I was having a conversation with a client just last week, and this client was going on and on and on about some trouble they were having in relationships. And at one point, I asked, I said, well, how would you like this to be resolved? How would things be different if this were resolved? And this person was struck and 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 she was saying, I don't know. And she realized she was so stuck in the pain of what was happening that she actually didn't have a clear idea of how she desired her life to be, how she wished for that relationship to be. So make sure that you understand what would be different if this, whatever that is, was resolved. Simple example, what would be different if I uncluttered my whole life and gave away what's no longer helping me? You know, one thing that would be different for sure, I guarantee, is that you would feel so much lighter, that you would feel so much more filled with life force. And most importantly and intangibly, you will have made room for the new energy, the new relationship, the new opportunity, the new things to come into your life. Because while you are hoarding the old things, there is no room for more to come in. So the universe won't bring you more of whatever it is that you want because it's full. Where is the universe going to put it? Years and years and years ago, I remember when all that conversation about manifestation began appearing in this world, when people began talking about manifestation. A very simple example was if you want a partner, a loving partner, and you're single, well, then begin clearing half of the closet for your beloved, sleep on one side of the bed, make sure you have a car space for your beloved, and begin living life as if your beloved were already there. I love that. Such a great example of what we're talking about. What would be different if this was resolved? Here's a super deep one for you. Let's say that you have identified in all that you're saying, in all the things I've said today, that there's a narrative going on in your mind. There's someone speaking inside. Make sure you're clear about whose voice that is and ask that specific question. Whose voice is this? We've internalized the voice of our mother, the voice of our father, the voice of our grandma. Sometimes we're not raised by a parent, we're raised by the grandma taking care of us. Whoever's voice that is, identify that and clearly state, this is not my voice, and change that narrative. Literally write a sentence that is the opposite of whatever narrative is hurting you. And the most beautiful question that I love, because beyond everything that I said when I'm talking about embracing the messiness, I'm saying, beloved listener, whoever you are on the other side of this video camera, ask yourself, what is mine to do today on earth? Because you are here for a reason that is so much bigger than all of the messy little things we've been speaking about today. But all of these things that we mentioned today are holding you back from being that beautiful, colorful, unique person that you are. And so embrace the mess. Ask yourself for environment and clutter. What is one small cleaning action that I can do today? If for you it's more about money and self-worth, what is one honest pricing or boundary action you can place for yourself? A beautiful one is take a week without buying anything at all. Eat what you have in your fridge. Eat what you have in your pantry. If you want to buy things online, hold on. Don't do it the minute you get the impulse. Hold for a week. Write it down on a paper and ask yourself, do I still want this when the week has gone by? One method I learned that I love about money boundaries is when I desire something, something comes to me. Let's say I want a new phone, something big or something smaller. I want a new tablet, or I want a deck of oracle cards, or I want a new pair of slippers. I mean, it doesn't have to be big or complicated. I have a list and I write it down. And then I wait for a week, 10 days, and then I go to the list and say, do I still want the slippers? Yeah, I do. In fact, yesterday I had to buy slippers because I had no more slippers. And you get it. And that is amazing. It stops you from a lot of that impulse buying. So again, one honest boundary you can put in place. What honest pricing or boundary action regarding money, self-worth, etc. Regarding the I'll do it later, what's that one call you can do today, that one email you can do today, or that one task that you are normally pushing and rewriting in your to-do list of tomorrow or next week over and over? Just go do it, or just get it out of the list. If it's not important and it's not urgent and it won't be done, just remove it from the list. Just drop it. Just acknowledge you're not going to be doing that. Because that's the other thing that happens, is that we keep putting things forward. But remember, there's urgent things and there's important things. There's this beautiful matrix about non-important, urgent and non-urgent, actually non-urgent, urgent, non-important and important. A lot of things fall in the quadrant of non-urgent, non-important, and you keep dragging those along, stopping you because energetically it's heavy, but they'll never get done. So make sure you are clear if what you're doing is urgent and non-important. You can drop those two most likely. Why is it urgent? Is it really urgent? Check that in. You want to do urgent and important, and you want to do important and not urgent. Make sure you prioritize those big boulders in your life. What are the big things that you really want to place in your life? And do that. Remember, and that's why I keep saying to download that rainbow meditation from my website, theawakenpath.com, because when spirit, body, mind are aligned, and heart, sorry, spirit, body, heart, mind are aligned. When you are aligned, then you are able to listen more clearly and understand more clearly what is it you're feeling, what is it that is a soul stirring action, like stir, 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 stir your soul, right? What is something that's moving you deeply that you might really want to take on? When you're out of alignment, that's when all the things we spoke about today happen. And alignment is key to embrace and allow the most beautiful version of yourself to manifest, to be able to be real. Because how do you live the most beautiful version of yourself? And by the way, we need you. The world needs you. You do that aligning and taking one step. And then once you have that step, you will see a little bit further and you take the next step. And that's why I was saying to you today, I won't give you the big solution, but if I can give you the entry point, which is what we were talking about today, as you move through that entry point, you will realize that the next action is clear. And potentially, as you take one, two small, three small next actions, suddenly a larger part of the path is clear for you. Therefore, remember, be clear about what is the big challenge. And like I said, don't grab 10. If you have 10, write them all down, but then choose one. Ask 2 or 3 clean questions. I gave you several, and take one grounded step. That simple. That simple. Sometimes we think that, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Where do I go with all of this? Simple. And believe me, simple is important, because part of what we do is that we make it so complicated that then again we freeze. It's so complicated. It's such a big mountain to escalate that we can't. One step at a time, here now. Yep. Cool, huh? I really hope this episode brings you clarity, brings you an ability to transform your life, because this is what the Soul Wisdom Project is about. It is about really owning that soul wisdom and applying it in your life in a way that your life begins to transform, in a way that when you look back a couple of months from now, you won't recognize where you were, because you haven't walked in a straight line forward or run in a straight line forward. You may have leapt in a spiral way upwards and forward to such an extent that you can't even remember how you got from there to here. But you do this through using your soul wisdom, which is what I've shared with you today, how to connect with your soul wisdom. I invite you to take some time to do some quiet exploration with the tools that I shared with you today. And by all means, mark your calendars for next live event on February 17th, because it's going to be an insane, amazing, energetic day with solar eclipses, the new year of the horse of fire coming on. And it doesn't matter if you miss that specific day, because the energetic will last quite a while, but you may want to be here live. I'm going to have a special guest, Darieth Chisholm, and you can learn more about her on the episode description that's already live. And remember, go to my website, theawakenpath.com. Look for all the goodies that can help you, meditations, handouts about how to live your soul wisdom project, about how to live an embodied life, about how to create health in your body. There's so many resources there about how to expand your channel and your ability to talk to your guides. There's another meditation. Go there, use the resources. Buy my book. Many have told me that my book, Remembering Her, a Soul Embodiment, uh, I forget the title of my book. This is insane. A Soul Embodiment Journey. It's over there. You can see it. It's that pink and purple. Buy my book. Many people are telling me that they're using the book almost like a manual. It's amazing, they're saying. Read the testimonials. So many tools. I'm here to help you and to support you. I love you. I'm so grateful for you listening. And until next time, many blessings. Thank you for joining me, Shakti Bottazzi, on the Soul Wisdom Project, remembering the living blueprint of the soul. Tune in every first and third Tuesday each month at 9 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Continue your journey of conscious embodiment, integrating the design, development, and emergence of your divine blueprint. Deepen your exploration through my book, Remembering Her, A Soul Embodiment Journey, and discover mentoring and retreats at theawakenpath.com. Healing is possible. Your journey is sacred design in motion. To put overwhelm in your past, contact me at www.theawakenpath.com. Stay awake, stay aligned, and keep living your soul's wisdom. See you next time.